Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and we're going to do something a little bit different today. You see, I normally don't talk about rumours. However, it's very likely that Warhammer the Old World will be next year, or at least the grand announcement of a release date, and rumours are becoming more and more apparent. Exactly why I want to talk about it, because there's some stuff that's been on that Phase 212 website, which, keep in mind, they have been quite close lately. Not just with Warhammer the Old World, but with loads of other stuff. However, they do kind of just throw out a lot of stuff into the wind. So what I want to do in this video is actually talk about these potential rumors and see if they're possible or not. It's more of a theory crafting day, and we haven't really had one for a while, so I think that this would be kind of nice. So yeah, let's just jump right in. Also, before we begin, we have to keep this in mind. This picture has been floating around for a while recently, apparently, and it's the whole 40 years of Warhammer thing, which we know next year is the 40th anniversary of Warhammer and Warhammer Fantasy. That was the first setting. The best setting in my opinion, but hey. But yeah, this is going to be an interesting thing because it looks like the archives are going to start in January next year, which is great. We're expecting some big announcement in April, at least knock on wood. And it looks like the first thing that they're going to show off is Goblin Wolf Riders against an Empire Brigade. So yeah, it kind of is kind of nice because there was an old school box which was Orcs versus Goblins, so it's kind of nice to see a little bit of a throwback to that. Whether or not this has any sort of information regarding the future, we'll have to wait until January the 23rd, I guess. But this is lasting for a year, which is big. So maybe the release is going to be in 2024, or the fact of, like, they're just going to keep it going and just showcase new displays. Either way, this should be kind of cool. Anyways, let's start off with the rumors. So the first rumor is we will see big announcements next year. The core rules are completed for some time, and they are preparing the books for printing. When everything is working as planned, we will see the first 2 miniatures at the upcoming Warhammer Fest in April next year, and possible the release announced for 2024. Okay, so there's a few things to talk about here. The grammar's not great, but, you know, these things are a thing. Anyway, so we know that the books themselves are being illustrated as we speak, or they could be very much done. This was something confirmed by Games Workshop in the last Warhammer the Old World update. So I'm actually quite expecting for a teaser of the core rules. 2 miniatures is a bit weird, but then again, we're expecting old stuff to come back. This will be talked about later on in this video. But yeah, 2 miniatures, I mean, unless it's something substantial, I'm not really too hyped up. I mean, if they do something like Asavar Call, just starting off, that would be freaking awesome. And it would kind of mirror with the whole thing of, you know, with the Horus Heresy when they showed off horrors in the trailer and stuff, so it kind of makes sense for Warhammer the Old World to have a similar thing. Either way, next year is still something that I'm holding out hope for of a announcement and details for a possible release. It could be very much like the Horus Heresy, that we'll start to see an announcement, a trailer, then they'll start doing like weekly blogs and stuff, and then boom, release. It could be pushed back to 2024. I have to be realistic here, but we don't know. We don't know. Really, these are just rumors. Anyways, let's move on. The rule set is mostly based on the 7th edition. Okay. No rules for massive units like in the 8th edition, and like in Age of Sigmar, the profile for monstrous creatures and similar units get worse when they lose LPs. What? Okay. I'm not too sure what this means by LPs. I don't really play a lot of Age of Sigmar, so excuse me, or if you know, please educate me in the comments below. Monstrous creatures, I hope, are a bit better, because in Warhammer Fantasy they just weren't great, mostly because a cannon would just take them out if they were lucky, or 2 cannons, or, you know, a cannon and some range. So there wasn't really a big point to bring big monsters, at least in my opinion. No rules for massive units is something that we're expecting, because that was a real big issue when it came to Warhammer Fantasy. Like, it was expensive, that's the thing. Massive units was just expensive, and I just really hope it's not going to be the same way. I mean, for Skaven it kind of makes sense, and, you know, it's £20 for 20 models, which kind of is alright, but a lot of the other stuff was just ridiculous, and I used to bring a lot of stuff, right? Like, this is an issue with Skaven too. Like, I used to bring squads of 50, and that was at least 3 squads of 50, so you're already buying, what, 8 boxes minimum? Actually a lot more. So yeah, this is something. The final part here is commanders and heroes get rules to customize them more. I wonder what this means, because they were already fairly customizable. I mean, hell, the Empire General, the Empire Captain were very, very customizable. My Skaven Warlords, really customizable too. It's something that was always really good for Warhammer Fantasy, especially in 8th, and some earlier editions too, that you could customize your characters really, really well and just tailor your army exactly the way that you wanted it. You want to be using a lot of named characters. Maybe this means it's going to be named characters, but I doubt it because, yeah, so maybe it's just going to stay the same way. Alright, now we're going to move on to the other details, which is quite interesting, right? The planning of Warhammer the Old World began in August 2019, and an initial release was set for mid-2023 for 40 years of Warhammer Fantasy battles, but then the coof. Alright, so apparently this is why it's going to get moved to next year. Sorry, the year after. We're still in 2022. I don't know. It could be possible, but then again, you have to take into account that Games Workshop is a massive company. Regards to when it started being planned, I think it would have been sooner, because I don't know, it just kind of feels like it'd have to be sooner, because then all the work that was put into Cathay and Kislev for Total War Warhammer, which then was confirmed that those factions are going to be playable in Warhammer the Old World, it must have taken a bit more time. I don't know how long it takes for Games Workshop to actually work on new armies, designs, and lore and stuff, but I imagine it wouldn't be 2 years to get something going and have to be a bit longer. Now, I could be very, very wrong here, which is perfectly possible, but we'll have to wait and see. I don't know. If you guys know anything on how they work, again, let me know. This is something that I don't know in regards to how armies are being created and so on, but keep in mind that, say, for example, if we look to Age of Sigmar, it's taking a while to get loads of Age of Sigmar specific factions. Like, a long, long time. So it could be a bit longer, right? The next section is all armies get complete new ranges of miniatures. I don't know, because there's a lot of rumors that we're gonna see a lot of old stuff come back into production, so I'm not 100% too sure about this. It could be that we will get new ranges in the future, years into this, but I don't know. I find this kind of weird, because I'm very much expecting Tomb Kings, which aged really well, and a lot of old Orc stuff, which did age quite well, to come back, and then in the future get them redone, you know? 2 armies for the starter set, Kislev and Chaos. As earlier said, there will be compendiums for owners of old armies, with all old units from the factions had in 8th edition before End Times. Okay. Veterans will only need certain compendium and their rulebook. Okay, right, let's talk about the starter set first, right? So, I've heard a lot of rumors. That a starter set is going to be Kislev versus Khorne, which, yeah, makes a lot of sense to me. I think that's something that's very doable. We've seen that matchup for Total War Warhammer, and it just kind of makes sense, because I still think that the original plan was to market it alongside Total War Warhammer 3, just to elevate sales as much as possible, to get that hype going. So, yeah, I think this is very much doable. Now, if you're new to tabletop, and you're interested in Warhammer the Old World, don't expect these army boxes to be, like, massive. They were pretty basic, but it was a good way to get started. And it's a good thing if you wanted to split with a friend, unless you're like me, who's just going to buy the box and possibly like 2 or 3 of that box just to have something going. I will be very honest with you, I don't know if this is going to be a good thing to start off with Kislev. I think Empire versus Chaos would probably be the best way to go, because if this is going to be set around the time of the massive civil war in the Empire, it just makes sense to kind of focus on the Empire a little bit. Though, mind you, the Kislev stuff that we've seen in Warhammer 3, which we know is going to be used in Warhammer the Old World, is very freaking pretty, and I would love to paint some of those minis up. So, yeah, either way, I'm going to be happy. With regards to compendiums, I mean, we've all kind of expected this. This is kind of like the index books that were there for Warhammer 40k 8th edition, and it kind of makes sense if they're just going to bring back a lot of old miniatures back, and then just go, yeah, you know, you've got your old armies, you might as well use them, and go from there, you know? Index book is perfectly fine, because that's how it worked for 40k, so yeah, I'd be happy with this. Releases will come in yearly circles, an army set with 1 faction, army book, and over 12 months, some separate boxes of core units in plastic, GW, and the rest in resin, Forge World. Yeah, that was kind of expected. this is believable. This is very, very believable because it's going to be a Forge World thing, and it's going to be very similar to that of how Warhammer the 30k series is working, you know, Horus Heresy, where there's a bunch of plastic, which is available in GW proper, you know, basic units and stuff like that, but all the fancy stuff is in Forge World. So this is very, very believable. I mean, this doesn't even have to be a rumor. This could just be set in stone, unless they do something radically different for Old World, but I very much doubt it. Let's continue. Then the circle begins anew with a new faction over 12 months. Exception will be the first circle, which will see the release of 3 factions: Kislev, the Empire, and the Forces of Chaos. Okay, so this circle thing is something that 40k is doing right now, when it comes to, you get the Sisters Battle, then you get the Leagues of Votan, then we're going to start moving on to the World Eaters. However, 40k is faster because it's been doing line refreshes much quicker, and I forgot, after the Sisters of Battle was the Necrons. I don't know. I feel like it could be a bit faster. It depends on how much of the old stuff comes back, and if this cycle stuff means new stuff. So it's very possible we could still get all the old stuff from like 8th edition being released in one big bulk, and then the cycle begins to add in new minis, which this is something that we can talk about, right? The Empire getting a new release is very possible because you have to take into account that Age of Sigmar is getting a new refresh for the Cities of Sigmar. And I still believe that those miniatures are going to be backward compatible because it just makes a lot of freaking sense. Same thing with the Warriors of Chaos, as the Warriors of Chaos are, well, being refreshed for Age of Sigmar, and they kind of fit on 25s. There's rumors they're going to be moved up a little bit on the squares, so maybe to 30 mils, and that would make them rank. I've tested this. I've actually tested the theory. I wouldn't be too surprised that the Forces of Chaos is Warriors of Chaos. Like, I wouldn't think, oh yeah, we're going to see, you know, a new type of faction. It's either going to be Warriors of Chaos, and then we're going to start seeing distinctions, kind of like how 40k and Age of Sigmar actually do it, where you've got the baseline Chaos Undivided, and then you start going on to the, you know, mono-god specific factions, which makes a lot of freaking sense. Like, that's how I would do it personally. Kislev being released at the beginning, very possible, because they've shown off a lot of concept art over the time, so I do believe that Kislev is fairly well done, and it would make sense because this period in the time zone deals with a lot of Kislevite lore, so yeah, I'm completely cool with this. Next we've got, originally they planned to start with the Empire and Orcs and Goblins, but this was discarded. I don't know if I like this or not. See, this is really a thing that we need more starter sets like this. Starter sets like this are really, really cool. We're seeing a lot of them for Age of Sigmar and stuff, but they'll have to be a bit bigger when it comes to Warhammer Fantasy with Warhammer the Old World, as our armies would likely be a bit bigger. Orcs and Goblins versus Empire would have been great, because that would have been the whole Solend thing, where Solend was destroyed by the Orcs and Goblins by a character which would be alive, who was available in 8th edition, actually, funny enough. So, I don't know. I want to see more boxes. I would have loved to see this, but then again, plans do change. Maybe they still keep it there. There's loads of potential for loads of boxes, like Hyles versus Dark Elves, you know, Orcs and Goblins versus Dwarfs. Maybe that's why they decided to kind of shelve that. There's so much that we could wait for. But yeah, we're going to have to wait and see for that. Lastly, it's the whole no plans for a second edition after 3 years so far. Well, yeah, of course there's no plans for a second edition. They've got to wait and see how first edition starts doing first, right? So sales at the beginning is what will then say, yeah, this is going to be viable, this is going to be the next edition. There's a lot of stuff here that could be true. There's a lot of stuff that is just basically, oh yeah, what if this happened? And then they just call it a rumor. This is why I don't like covering rumors so much. I wanted to cover it today because I'm excited. I'm honestly excited for Warhammer the Old World, and I think that we're going to get closer and closer to it. It's just a matter of time. And some of these things could be true, like I said. I have faith, and hell, the last update, whilst it was a map update, and I know a lot of people weren't too pleased about it, it did really make a lot of people hyped up, including myself. There was a lot of information in just that one map reveal. So, yeah, I don't know. With all that being said, let me know what you guys think. If you've heard any other sources or rumors, let me know in the comments below. And let me know your thoughts in general, what you think about these rumors, if there's anything that you do like, that you don't like. Let's start a bit of a discussion. I want to start bringing tabletop in more into the channel. This is why I'm actually starting to film for battle reports in November, starting to release them in January, so I have a few saved up in the bank in case anything happens, you know, and I just can't record. You know how these things are. Anytime I actually want to sit down and start filming for a release the next month, you know, a DLC appears or something. And at this point, I just want to be prepared. So yeah, I want to bring in tabletop into the channel more. I feel like it's time to go back to what this channel really, really was about. Total War content is still going to continue on a daily basis and stuff, barring today, of course. But I want to start bringing in tabletop stuff too. I feel like that would be kind of cool, you know? But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Let's start a discussion. And until then, I shall see you all very, very soon. Have a good day.